My nephew wants me to say one thing, that Cosmo is a good dog. Okay?
I cannot comment on whether or not Cosmo is in fact a good dog until the strikes are over.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sean Gunn. You're right there. Yeah. All right. It's all you. It's all you. How was how was day 2 of your? This is your 3rd time at Terrificon.
Very busy. So yeah, I love this convention. I think it's one of the most fun of all of them. So it's cool. It's good to be here. Thanks for coming out, and thanks for being here at the panel. I know a lot of actors haven't done these panels with good reason. We are on strike right now, and we're striking for good reasons. So thank you. I can, with very sort of strict limits, I can talk about work I've done in the past. I will not and cannot talk about any work that I have coming up in the future. Because the truth is, I have no work coming up in the future. We are on strike indefinitely. I don't know if there's, I don't know when it'll end, and I certainly, so as far as projects on the horizon, I have 0. But I'm also more than happy to answer any questions about the actual labor dispute and the strike, and the things that we're going through right now, because I think it's a lot, and sometimes it can feel like it's, millionaires arguing with billionaires, and I just want people to know that the men and women in the Writers Guild and the Screen Actors Guild who are striking are working class people, and a lot of whom are struggling to pay rent, pay bills, pay mortgages, just like average folks, and are not getting a fair shake and a fair wage from some of these big corporations that are just hoarding profits. And you know how that is. They squeeze labor from the bottom up, and they're really feeling it. So yeah, I don't know if we want to get into questions.
Listen, here's the thing. You've touched on what I wanted to touch on, because these are sort of weird times of these few weeks that we're dealing with conventions, and I want to talk to you about a bunch of different things. So even the challenges of trying to know what you can talk about, knowing what you can't talk about, all these different things. And as we get through, and I do want to talk about that, because we can tell you how much we love Gilmore Girls. We can tell you how much we love Guardians of the Galaxy and Suicide Squad. We can tell you all those things. So if you just want to tell them how much you love them, that's awesome. We can do that. There's a microphone over here. We're going to take questions. But I do want to tap into that, because we talk, especially on Comic Book Central, you and I have talked about so many of those different projects. You've been involved in all those genre projects and different things. But this is real world stuff. And I know people I've talked to have said exactly what you've expressed. Oh, millionaires fighting over, they want more money. I said, that might be 5% of that business, but the other 95%, they're waiting tables, they have other jobs. If they're earning under X amount, they don't get health care, and health care is insane right now if you don't have insurance benefits. So I want to talk about whatever you're comfortable talking about a little bit. Yeah, we'll get the lines going. If you think of your questions, again, we'll see what you can talk about, what you can't talk about.
And I can always say I won't answer that. It's fine.
I'll play Terrificon. I'll be the bad guy.
To say that. But yeah, no, it's true. I mean, it's I make a good living, but everyone assumes I'm a millionaire. I am not a millionaire. And it's really tricky in the way it's less about even how much money that is being made as it is how how CEOs and the corporations just try to cut costs everywhere, and the first and easiest place to cut costs is by pardon my language, screwing over the least of us, by screwing over the people that make the least amount of money. And if they can afford to if they can save money on having a writing room by offering these one-day wages to writers who they know are going to work more than a day on stuff, and that's a practice that the streamers are trying to do now. they're sinking. They won't pay fair percentages on the profits, but they are sinking millions and millions of dollars into creating AI that can generate content for them so that they can push out creators. It's pretty harrowing stuff.
Let's mention, I want to mention 3 things, make sure I hit them there. So what we're looking at is increased minimum pay rates, increased streaming residuals.
Right.
That's that whole, and we talked in another panel was like even this goes back to DVD days, like that, even that wasn't figured out correctly. And then you mentioned the big one, AI usage guarantees. So that's not even like for the writer's side. What they could do is it might not even be a writer on the front end. It could be some AI generated script. I'm going to dump a bunch of keywords in. I want an action movie with this and with this and with this. And it's going to generate kind of a script. And then we might pay somebody to script doctor it a little bit. And you don't have writers on the set, which you always need writers on the set because you're doing different things. So those are the different things, and we can talk about this as much as you want to. But you want to take some questions? Do you want to get something off your chest first?
Let's take some questions, and I'll throw stuff
in go for it.
as needed.
And what's your name?
My name is Ed, and I'm from Long Island. And I'm probably not alone here in saying we want to help as fans because we don't want to lose what we love. And of course, most of us are working class as well, and we understand what it's like to, or hopefully don't realize what it's like to be in that situation. How can we aid in this as fans? Give us a to-do list, please.
Do you have a Patreon page?
Let me start by saying I really, really wish I had. First of all, thank you, and second of all, I really wish I had a better answer to that question than I do. There's been talk amongst the union ranks about trying to have some sort of a boycott, maybe, asking people to cancel certain subscriptions or whatever. They've decided not to go that route yet. Nobody's doing that. The unions haven't called for it. It's hard personally for me to see an end game where we don't eventually fight back a little bit harder, because I think that the companies can wait longer than we can, and they can bleed us out. And I'm sure a lot of you saw that quote in the news where they want to wait until writers are losing their houses and their apartments, and they can do that. You have CEOs making $50 million a year. They don't care about, and there's a lot at stake. I honestly think that for the time being, the best help we can have is just the actual support. And when you're talking about it with friends and neighbors or whatever, and it comes up, support labor. It's like as long as people know that this isn't it's not just some frivolous thing. It's something that we see in every industry in the country. It's like it becomes. I'm not against profit. Making a profit is good, but only making a profit and having it be. We have to make as much profit as possible at expense of everything else, that's what we're seeing right now. There comes a point where it's demented, where it's like it's an ethical problem as well as just a financial problem and a problem of money. It's like how much is enough? I made this comment on the picket line that Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, who rakes in tens of millions of dollars a year, he makes, in 1980, a CEO made about 30 times what the lowest worker made in their company. Now they make 400 times. Bob Iger makes 400 times what the average writer makes, who works for Disney, and he's the guy who says it's a shame they're being unreasonable and shakes his head while he's at a billionaire retreat and says that sorry, but they can't afford to pay living wages to
Here's the
writers.
quote. Here's the quote. There is a level of expectation that the union members, have that is just not realistic. And I don't know that comment sat well with many people in the union.
Didn't sit well with me, that's
No,
for sure.
and it's one of those things that it's like, I think you reach a point where it's like, do you hear what you're saying, and did you read the room, and do you know how this is going to land? Or do you just not care? And I thought that was an interesting quote, because I think everybody's taken that, and he sort of becomes like this, punching bag at this point, I guess. But
Yeah.
So, well, if that's the way
they're all
the
in
world
same
works, then
boat.
that's the way the world works.
All the CEOs are in the same boat. And it's really a shame because, like, we just, I'm just a storyteller. I want to be an actor. I don't want to be in the news. I don't want to be on, in the Hollywood Reporter or the Washington Post because I'm out on the picket lines. I want to go work on the movie that I was about to go work on. And I do think that we're always at a little bit of a disadvantage when we're negotiating with people who are only interested in profit, because it's like they don't care. Bob Iger doesn't care if the movies are good. You know what I mean? if the movies that Disney makes stop being profitable at all, to him, he just stopped making movies. It's not a question of like making fewer and trying to make them better and trying to make what you can. As artists, we just want to make what we can. We don't have to make as much money as possible. We just want to make enough so that we can make our next movie, really. And yeah, it's a mess.
Well, and you tapped into something too, and I want to get to the questions, but it's like what isn't factored in here is the world changed. The world completely changed as far as how we consume media, and it also changed. COVID changed everything because we found out we can trick out our home theaters. We can do these things at home. We don't necessarily have to go to the theater. So those streaming services, I don't know. I've got like a ton of them. I don't even know how many I have at this point. Right. And we're probably all like, there's commercials about it, making fun of it, and it's like that is where the epic stuff's happening. When you look at Mandalorian, when you're looking at the Star Trek Picard season 3 and those things, what used to be in the film is now on the streaming services, and that wasn't factored in. It couldn't have been. It didn't exist. Yeah. So it's like when the world changes, other things have to change, and I think that's the tricky part. Is they're not even looking at that. So
100%. Let's take another next question. Yep.
Hey, what's up, Sean? It's me, Chris. We met over there. Since the WGA is happening right now, do you think we might be expecting less entertainment and more like alternate forms of content in the future?
I have no idea. I keep hearing people say that like, oh, this is, that this is a kind of an epic struggle for the future of the entertainment industry. And you hear people on both sides say that it's, it could lead to the destruction of the industry as we know it. But no one ever says, what does that mean? It's not that like, we're not going to stop making movies. We're not going to stop, as a culture, stop watching movies and watching television shows or stop making them. It just means that the whole business of it is going to change. So I don't know, but I can tell you that I, for one, am a big proponent of indie movies. And now, it used to be just movies that were indie. Now we have, there's different ways to platform things. So we have also indie TV shows and indie video games and that kind of stuff. And so I'm a big fan of like consume independent stuff that you like. Look harder for stuff that as an audience, it's like you'll find great stuff that you didn't know existed. And I'm a big fan of all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, all I know is that you and your brother are cooking up something, so I can't wait to see that.
I appreciate it.
It's always a fair estimation that they're going to be doing something. Thanks for the question. Next question.
Hi.
I'm Gail from Hartford. And first off, I just want to say I'm a huge fan. I quote you all the time in my homeschool at home. Captain's got to teach stuff. As a creator, how do you perceive it is best to navigate this tricky water of people not necessarily being valued for their writing currently?
Well, I mean, it's why we're striking. I mean, it's writers are essential and actors are essential. And I actually think, we could do a whole hour just talking about AI with no problem because it is such a big, messy thing, and it has its value. AI isn't just evil, but there are ways to use AI that can be very helpful. Writers can use it themselves to help get themselves out of jams story-wise. So, but I think that they're basic things we can all agree on. We can all agree that you can't sell your likeness in perpetuity to a corporation. Corporation cannot own your likeness. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. It is a type of identity theft. I know this isn't what your question was about, but if Netflix developed AI that could generate shows of new seasons of Gilmore Girls using our faces, and our voices, and it seems crazy, but the technology is not that far away from there. They could do it now. It would look a little off-putting, but it'll be to the place where they can do it and it'll look good pretty soon. And according to the laws right now, that wouldn't be illegal for them to do that. They could just take my likeness, put it on TV, charge people for it, and I'd see nothing. And so there is a point, I think, where we have to say, wait a minute, this is a type of identity theft. We're human beings here, and you can't just take our work and use it for your own purposes. But everything's tricky. I support the hell out of the writers, and they support us. We need them. I mean, writers are. I've been very fortunate in my career. Most of the success in my career has been due to the great writing of Amy Sherman Palladino and Dan Palladino and my brother James and people who are great writers. So we need them.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You mentioned the identity there too. It's even on a smaller level too, because you think not just full-blown replacing actors, but you think about background actors. So if there's two people talking, you and I are talking, and there's people in the restaurant in the background, there's nothing stopping them now from just taking those images, multiple, and just creating background restaurant scenes forever and never having to pay those actors.
Right.
So that comes into it too. It's not even just those full-blown things. It could be done right now. So yeah,
and it just needs to be fair. Yeah. I mean, nobody's saying that if you have a scene at a stadium filled with 60,000 people that you have to hire 60,000 extras. If you can do some of it with computer generation, you should be able to do it. But when you actually focus on people, they need to be compensated when you're using their specific likeness.
I wrote down what because the DGE brothers, the Directors Guild, they came to an agreement confirming AI is not a person and generative AI cannot replace the duties performed by members. And that doesn't seem to be that difficult a task to ask for. So I think that's really all you guys are asking for. Okay. Next question.
Hi, I'm Kevin from Wallingford, and first thing I have to say is I've worked as a production assistant on many different film sets, particularly here in the area. Some of the film sets were very rough with very penny pinching producers, and I just wanted to thank you just personally for striking and for actually standing up and asking for more. And a lot of other people that I'm friends with on different crews, hair and makeup and different type of things. They also were all in support of SAG and the WGA and everything. And we thank you for being the people that can stand up for the producers are standing up for the producers, which is so nice to see. My question is, I met you the other day, and I sent my picture to my brother who is autistic, and we don't bond over too many different things because we have different interests. Guardians of the Galaxy was something that we bonded over. I showed it to him and he loved it, and we went to see 2 and 3 together in the theater. And not only did I want to thank you so much for giving us something that we would bond over, I also thought to myself a question. Growing up, you and your brother James, was there any specific TV series or films that you guys bonded over, that you guys really related to, that you really loved?
So many. I mean, so many. We consumed a lot of pop culture in my household. Now you gotta understand, there's 6 kids in my family. James is the oldest, I'm the youngest. So there are 4 more of us in between all of us. And we're all super tight in age. Less than 8 years separates the 6 of us. My mom was busy. We watched movies and TV shows and listened to music and nonstop in my household. so many things, but particularly, the classics, the same things that a lot of people grew up on. We loved the Spielberg movies. We loved Jaws and Raiders and, and E.T. and stuff like that. And I don't know, there were weird shows that didn't last very long that were hits in my household, like Square Pegs and and like, I don't know how
Great theme song on that one, by the way.
Yeah. It's Your Move. Anybody remember It's Your Move?
Yes, Jason Bateman.
Yeah. How great was that?
Classic.
But just too many to name.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
I think we need to talk too. Oh, go ahead.
My brother Patrick wants to say hi.
Oh, tell him hi.
Yeah,
tell him hi. We get a lot of, there's a lot of people on the spectrum who are big fans of Guardians, and I love it. It's one of my favorite things about having made the movies.
Mine too. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
I think you said you were into comic books too when we talked before. I want to make sure was it Flash and Silver Surfer, or those ones you were grooving on? I'm trying to remember now.
Oh, a little. My brother was all comics all the time, everything.
Did you inherit what they were?
I would pick through them, but I never quite learned the way that he did.
Well, that's amazing. But it's good that you guys can join forces together and bring us amazing things now that we can love. So next question.
Sure.
Hi, Sean. My name's Chris. I'm from Massachusetts. We met earlier. My question is, how does this strike differ from the one in 2007?
Well, the actors didn't strike then. It was the writers that struck. Now it's both of us. So in that way, it's a little bit different. It was the same thing then. They were looking for higher wages. There was also a big issue with package deals and things like that, which I think if anything, this strike just has sort of more levels to it. There's more at stake. There's more people striking, and it's just kind of overall bigger. The writers and actors haven't been on strike together since 1960, which is when we got residuals and when we got health care. And before that, actors did not have any health care at all, and didn't get residuals when their show when their work was replayed or re-aired or whatever. And we fought and won that in 1960. And so I think there's a lot of similar things at stake here.
I just want to say thank you so much for standing up for the writers.
Sure. Thanks.
No problem.
I think part of it too was the DVD residuals and things too, and they're like, well, we'll figure out how that works. And like back in the day, it used to be easy. Like ratings were ratings, and you could figure these things out. Now it's like DVDs. Well, okay, we figured out the sales thing, but we really didn't lock that in. Now with streaming, it's like, well, it's kind of we don't know. It's this, but it didn't do it. Like, how do you even know how many people watch? Right?
Yeah, you don't. I mean, Netflix has numbers for how many people stream their shows, and they keep those guarded like it is the biggest secrets that they have. Personally, I think it's unconscionable. I think it's wrong that you would sell somebody else's work and then say, hey, we're not going to tell you how many units you sold. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine if a book publisher bought the rights to a book and then said, hey, I have the right to sell this, but I'm not going to tell you how many copies you sold. And that's essentially what Netflix does with our TV shows. And one of the reasons that there's probably multiple reasons they do it, not the least of which is that they're able to trick their shareholders easier that way. But they also, they take away leverage from those that they're negotiating against. So when you have a show like my show, Gilmore Girls, or some of these shows that were massive hits on Netflix, that weren't as big a hits when they were on the air. They maybe did fine, but you have shows like New Girl or Gilmore Girls, or even a show that was a hit originally, like The Office, but then was even multiple times a big hit when it was on streaming. You have these shows that are these huge hits, but they don't know how big hits they are. So there's no leverage when we're negotiating. There's no way we can say, wait a minute, you're making money hand over fist for this product that you're selling, and we're not seeing any of it. It's a good way, it's an evil way, but it's a way for them to cut people out of profit sharing. Thanks.
Thanks for your question. Good questions, everybody. We appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, and our streaming rates keep going up every month. It's like we're putting on good, but isn't this organically almost going to take care of itself maybe? Because at some point you've got stuff in the can that they can burn through the content. But at some point, if you guys ain't putting movies together and TV shows together, they're going to run out of content, and you can only watch so much of whatever shows out there.
Well, Netflix has been the most egregious offender for not coming to the negotiating table. I think that there are some other. There are 300 and something members of the AMPTP, and I bet, 290 of them would make a deal today if they could.
Wow.
It's the ones at the very top that are the most difficult, and there's particularly the ones at the very, very top, Netflix and Amazon, that just don't seem to care. They're like, we're just going to bleed them out as long as it takes. We're just going to like let them. We're just going to make them suffer, and eventually they'll come crawling back.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Next question.
Hi, my name is Meets. I'm from Connecticut. You actually answered my first question already about, I heard that it was the software companies that were high up, and it wasn't like Disney or Fox for this time. They're not the big hitters. It's Netflix and Amazon. So thank you for answering.
Essentially, what I think happened is streaming changed the way that revenue was generated in the industry, just sort of across the board. It started to, and streaming's great. I mean, it's good for the consumer, right? We like having more choices and having the ability to watch what we want. But when they started. They got so big, and it was particularly Netflix and Amazon, that some content they're essentially just giving away for free because you're watching it over and over and over again. And what happened is that the other companies, the Disney and and Fox and Warner Brothers, they're like, rather than say, wait a minute, this isn't. We need to find a way to do this equitably. They said, let's do what they're doing. Let's copy them. Let's come out with Disney Plus and HBO Max and their own competitors to the streamers. And now they're trying to copy the business practices that were already kind of shady to begin, that aren't based on the old system. So the old system was anybody could quibble with it, but there was a type of fairness to it with shows and syndication and with us being able to sort of share equitably and the profits. And then streaming came along, changed it, and now they're all like, now it's streaming, and that's what we do, and it's a
And then I had a second question.
Yeah.
What would you say to people who want to try to be an actor or a writer now, especially because...
Don't do it. Don't do it right now. For sure. This is the worst time to
Wait
do
a few
it.
months.
Look, I love creators. I love artists. If you feel it in your heart that you want to create or you want to be an actor or writer, I say go for it. The business itself is
Just wait till the strike's over.
It's wonderful and awful. It really is. It's like it's so many things. It's very hard to make it. You need both skill and luck. And if you have a whole lot of one, you can deal with less of the other. But you do need both, and it helps if you have a lot of both.
Thank you.
It was mentioned in an earlier panel too, if you can create your own content, if you can control that, if you can come up with a story, if you can put these things together, there's a modicum of control over that at least. So, I mean, if you can go that way, and honestly, with all the tools, it's easier to create content now than it ever has been.
Oh,
so
yeah.
maybe
If you
go
can
down
make
that
your
path.
own stuff and do it, it's great. And if you can sell it, even better.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Bobby. I wanted to start by saying thank you. The superhero work you've done is just such a continued source of inspiration and happiness for my family and my friends, and it just means so much. And I wanted to ask you about, I love hearing you talk about your relationship with your brother. My younger brother's my best friend, and James Gunn's a tremendous personal inspiration for me. And I would love to hear you talk a little bit about what it's like working creatively with your sibling. That's really cool, man.
It's great. People ask me all the time what it's like working with my brother, and I think they expect that he fight, or he, puts me in a headlock and gives me noogies every day. But the truth is that there's nobody I like working with more than my brother. First of all, he's great at his job, and he's very prepared. He runs a great set. People like working for him. But also, I just know him so well, and so creatively, when you're all, like the task of trying to make a great movie or a great television show is you get a bunch of creative minds together, and you get them all working together towards this common goal. And so there's a process where you learn how everyone else works, and you learn how to work together. Well, my brother and I, we've already done that. Like, we already have our shorthand for how we get together and work on stuff, and for how we talk about stuff. And like, I can do a take in a scene. I can be shooting a scene, and I can look over at the monitor, and I don't even have to ask him, what do you think? I can tell by the look on his face if he's happy or if we need to do it again, right?
Yep.
What's the ratio of
probably
that?
The same for me. Well, and he can tell for me. He can look at me and he's like, I can tell you want to do it again. Let's do it again.
Nice.
And so, yeah, we work together. And also, it helps that our jobs fit really well. I think it might be harder if we were doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think that like doing I don't even know. But like, if we were trying to like, and I work with Joe and Anthony Russo, but I think and they have a great process for how they work together. I think if James and I were doing that, it may be trickier. We would have a harder time, particularly now that he's got his ideas for how things go and whatever.
Awesome.
But our jobs mesh great. So he's a director, writer-director. I'm a performer, and we both like it like that, and it helps.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I would probably kill my brother if I tried to write something with him.
Fair.
Do you have any desire to direct? I was curious about that. Like, just seeing what he's been able to do, did that push you in that direction at any level?
It's funny, I got this question recently on a press junket, and he was there, and he said he thinks I would hate it. But I used to direct theater years ago. I directed plays when I first got out of acting school. And
you created a theater company, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I like doing that very much. And I always think that I will probably at some point direct something. But I have a lot of respect for how hard it is. And I also know that I'm a it's going to say actor on my tombstone someday. So like, that's my thing. Yeah. That's what I love. That is always going to be what I love. But I may try directing it.
Would Sean Gunn direct James Gunn?
That's interesting. If he wanted me to, I would talk about it.
Yeah. How good of an actor is he? Is he good?
Would I direct him as an actor?
Yeah, would you
I was
direct him
thinking
as
of his writing. I was thinking of like taking a script that he wrote and trying
If
to
he
direct
wanted
it,
to, would you put
which
him-
would be interesting.
Yeah.
I could direct him as an actor.
Yeah. How would he do?
Yeah.
How would he do?
He's okay. We did. We did this movie. It's not like riding a bike, so when you don't do it for a long time, you get rusty. But he used to perform a lot. He used to do spoken word stuff and perform monologues he wrote. And one of our first movies is called The Specials, and he has a good role in it. Yeah.
There you go. Next question.
Hi. So actually, I had two questions, but one of them got answered, and that was what was it like working with your brother?
Oh, sure.
But so now I have two more questions. So my first question is, I love this picture that they have on the internet of you in the physical portrayal suit, and Dave Bautista is like petting you as Rocket.
Oh, yeah.
So
I love that
do you prefer, like, did you have more fun playing your character in Guardians or playing Rocket?
For the first couple movies, I spent so much more time playing Rocket. And I first of all, I don't look at them as being all that different. Like, my job is kind of the same either way. It ends up being different as Rocket. But from my perspective, I'm just trying to find the truth of that character and do what the character would do in that situation. That's essentially my job. I love that picture of me and Bautista, except for one thing, which is that was in the which is that green onesie that I'm wearing. I only wore for like the first month of the first movie that we did. After that, they were like, you don't need to wear that. And I just wear a gray tracksuit. So I've done 5.5 movies in a gray tracksuit that is very comfortable and very reasonable looking.
No
But
makeup.
everybody knows me as they're like, what's it like wearing that green suit? And I'm like, I haven't worn that in 10 years.
And not only that, you don't have to sit in makeup.
Yeah,
So, like,
no, I know, but I love that photo, and that's a really warm, like that moment. You know, I'm right there. We're right there in it, and I know it was important to Dave at that scene to like have me there and to be doing it, and although to answer your question about which I prefer, I mean. I'm an actor. I'm vain in my own way, so I like
sides
having
of the
my
same
face
coin.
on screen. You know, like that's why I did it. Is to be. I feel more like Kraglin is my character, whereas Rocket, I participate in the creation with a whole lot of people. You know, especially the VFX team and of course Bradley Cooper. But the thing that I do love most about Rocket is that it's a reminder to me of how, of when you're really on it as an actor, it's really you're giving more to your other actors than you are taking anything. And when I play Rocket, I'm really like my first job is to be there for them. So it's to be there for Chris and Zoe and Karen and Pom and not Rooker, but everyone else, and to hell with Rooker. But to be there for them so that they have a partner to work with when they're doing that scene. And Dave was very emotional in that scene, and so I was too. And so that photo you see of me, I'm really crying in that picture, and so it's
it
like
makes me misty.
Sometimes people are like, how hilarious was this? And I'm like, I'm crying in that picture. So
We all were.
Wasn't that?
And
Anyway.
My second question is, if you could be any one of the Avengers, who would you be? If you were able to take one of the Avengers and make them your own and be offered that role, who would
I don't know.
be?
Can any of them make the strike end? Super
Captain America.
I'd be Captain America.
Tony
That
Stark.
one probably. I don't know. I try not to covet roles that aren't. I'm happy enough with
AI.
one role in the MCU.
Ultron will just come in and destroy AI.
Yeah,
so,
there you go. Right.
But
Anyway,
so, which
I
would
don't
it
know.
be?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm already like 2 characters in the MCU. It's pretty. My cup runneth over.
Going into DC.
You mean
too.
who would I be in real life, or who would I play?
Like if you yourself, if you, Sean Gunn, were offered the role of any Avenger that you
If
wanted
you could
to
have
play,
any pick, your pick.
gosh.
We're just
who
gonna
would you
give
play?
I don't know. Any Avenger? I don't think I'm right for any of those roles.
Or even
I'm
like your
honestly,
dream
I could
role.
play like Mr. Fantastic or something maybe 15 years ago, but
Or even
I don't
just
know.
Like, just like a dream role. Like that's
I'd love to be a Bond villain.
yes.
Yeah.
I would see that.
I feel like if I keep saying that enough in interviews, it'll get to somebody.
Get to the right ears.
And not only that, but from one youngest to another.
Thanks.
We know each other.
Tweet that out. Just get this out on social media. He needs to be a Bond villain at some point.
Hi, I'm Nick. Nice to meet you.
Hey.
So similar for me. I had a question answered. Maybe going back to what you're talking about, the writer strike and the actor strike, vis-a-vis streaming services. This has all been kind of revelatory as to the business practices and things like that. How are the other voice actors, say for like anime, are they part of this whole thing? Because they're only getting the check for their voiceover. They're not getting residuals, from my understanding.
Right.
So like, how is that working into it? Is that even...
It's the same. They're actors, and so under the old collective bargaining agreement, if you were a voice actor for an animated show and it was on syndication or on cable or whatever, you'd get residuals for that just like anybody else. The streamers don't pay residuals, period.
Right.
So you basically get your flat fee from the first time you do it, and then they can sell it as many times as they want. What you do get, like, so for Gilmore Girls, I still get some residuals from cable, because it still has a life in cable. And I also get a very small amount of residuals from the licensing fee that Netflix pays Warner Brothers for the right to play it. So they pay them like and I don't even know how long that contract is, how many years it lasts. I don't know anything about it. I just know that they pay a very small amount, and the actors get a small amount of that that they divvy up amongst themselves. Okay. But it's a flat rate. It doesn't matter what the show is. It doesn't matter how big of a hit it is. So for Gilmore Girls, which was a huge hit, we really get the short end of the stick.
Right. And so for like indies coming out on Netflix and stuff like that, well, I mean, are there any independent filmmakers putting out stuff on Netflix, or is it all aggroed stuff and distributed?
Well,
I mean, are they getting in on the deal, I guess is my question.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of different for everybody. I mean, once it's on Netflix, I guess it's not exactly independent anymore. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know how you look at it, but
I guess,
they do buy content. They see things and buy it and put it on their platform. But but if you made an independent movie and Netflix came and bought it from you, they're basically just going to give you one flat sum.
Gotcha.
And if you know, which may be great if nobody sees your movie, but if it's the biggest hit they have on the network, doesn't matter. Like, you're not making extra money either way. They are.
And from what you're saying, it sounds like it's almost editorial what goes on, like the trending stuff. It's not really based on real numbers. They're just like, well, this is what's close. Maybe we'll put something.
I have no idea, honestly, what it's based on.
Yeah.
The algorithm is built to try to keep your eyes on the television screen.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the thing. The
seem like
transparency is what you're
Yeah.
looking
Yeah,
at. That's the challenge, is
Yeah.
because there's just nothing transparent.
Tell
You
us.
could just make up numbers.
yeah, release the numbers.
Because
Let us know.
in music, you have to, with your distribution, you see down to the penny where things are coming from, the fraction of the penny, your mechanicals, your royalties, and all that stuff. And there's none of that in film. I'm shocked. But
Yeah, Netflix has those numbers. They just don't release them.
Yeah.
Nobody sees them.
Why would
Even
they
their shareholders don't see them.
Why would they want to?
Right.
I mean, from their perspective, it doesn't behoove them to do it because, like you said, it's all leverage.
Yeah.
If they're forced to legally, they will. So
Well, they are. I mean,
that's why they're striking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
thank you guys. Thank you for your work.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Colin. First, I just wanted to say, as an aspiring screenwriter, it's been great hearing you talk about the strike and your perspective. Second, I wanted to ask, what made you realize that you wanted to be an actor? What inspired you?
Well, let me answer that question like this, that I wanted to be an actor from the time when I was old enough to know what a profession was. I knew I wanted to be an actor. You can go back. Did anybody have the book about me, the Dr. Seuss book? You can go back and find my book about me that I wrote when I was 5 years old, and it says, when I grow up, I want to be an actor. But I feel like it sort of changed. When I was a kid, I was the youngest of six, as I said. I liked attention. I liked being the one in the center of the room. I liked it when people were watching me. Was something I enjoyed, and it was very much about me. So I liked the performance aspect of it. It wasn't until I got a little older, I became an adult, I learned the craft of acting, and I started doing it in school, that I learned, it's actually, not only is it not about me, it's the opposite. It's completely not about me. It's about the characters that I'm playing, and my job as an actor is to look at the world through the eyes of whatever character I end up choosing to take on. And the process for me of doing that, of trying to look at the world through other characters' eyes, helps me to do that for everybody I meet. So when I come to a convention like this and I meet all different kinds of people, or anybody I come in contact with, I try my to look at the world through their eyes, to to understand things the way they do. And it's hard a lot of times, particularly now in the world where people seem to be less welcoming and open in some ways than they used to be. I don't know why. But for me, it makes me more open, makes me love people more. And that's what I love about it now, is I love how it connects me to people.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
What's the best piece of acting advice you ever got?
Oh, God.
And from whom?
Let's see here. The best piece of acting advice I think I ever got was that that you can't, basically to prepare for an audition as though you've already gotten the job. That you can't, and it kind of ties into, because when you're starting out, if you don't have good audition skills, it doesn't matter how good you are. You have to book auditions. If you go on 100 auditions as an actor and you're the second best person they see at every single one of them, you wait tables. You know what I mean? Yep. So you have to learn the skill of auditioning, and as much as you may want it, as desperate as you may be for a job, you have to pretend like you're not, that it doesn't matter, that that it's your job to lose, and if they don't like it, it's their problem. But that's all about the skill of auditioning. The process of acting is I don't know how, I'm not sure how to put it succinctly, but I'm going to think about that for a minute.
right.
What's the best advice I ever got?
All right.
Hi.
Hi. Oh God, I need to adjust this because I'm really short.
No worries.
So, hi Sean, I'm Julia. We've met before, and from that, I think you can already tell that I have anxiety.
That's cool.
This isn't really a question. This is just, it's kind of a thanks. It is a thanks. Well, it's, I just want to say that I love what you're doing for all actors, directors, and producers alike for this strike this year. I'm actually an amateur actress myself. I've been in at least 20 plays. I haven't got paid yet, but I still love doing it. And I actually really relate to your way of acting and seeing through the eyes of the characters that you're playing, and I try to do the exact same thing. I don't act, I feel the emotions, like how you described with the scene with Rocket and Drax.
Yeah.
And actors, they give it their all. They always give their all for their performance. And I think it's really horrible, and it's really scary that big studios like Hollywood can hold their money and just keep it there until they just cave in, and
Yeah.
after all that they've done, after all that we've done as actors, we definitely deserve more. We deserve so much more than we get credit for. And I just want to say thank you so much for supporting everyone in the media. I just want to say I'm actually thinking of becoming an actress myself, as well as many other things. But basically I just want to say that thank you so much for supporting professional actors and amateur actors such as myself before our careers even start. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for talking. I know you have anxiety. It's brave to get up and talk in front of people, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'll fix it up because I'm taller. Hi, I'm Brian from Binghamton, New York, and I just had a question. We see a lot of actors now going into the comic world, like Paul Dano has done his Riddler comics. Have you ever thought about maybe jumping into that and telling a story of Weasel or Kraglin or something?
Ask me again about that the next con you see me at, because I may be working on something.
All right, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the teaser there. We appreciate that. Yeah,
which actually doesn't violate like you can work on comics and graphic novels and things without violating it, where they're not on strike. So yeah.
But in a few months, we're going to really have some fun. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Cameron, and I'm from Westchester, New York. And I was wondering, what was your reaction when you figured out like these big companies were making all this money and not sharing it with like all the actors? Like, how did you feel about it personally?
I'm never surprised by that kind of thing. You know, I mean, it's like that's the way that it just seems like increasingly we live in a world where if you can make if you can make a little bit of profit doing something, all of a sudden there's 10 people who like their only job is to make more profit, is to just like find a way to make more profit at the expense of other people. And so I'm never really surprised by that. But yeah, I knew, I just know how much money, like my show that I was on for 7 years was a huge hit in streaming. I went from, it was a modest hit when it was on the air, but then all of a sudden it got on Netflix in 2014, and I started getting recognized 2014, 15, 16, everywhere I went all the time. And I still do. I get recognized all the time, every day for Gilmore Girls. And I'm proud of it. Like, I'm proud of the show. I'm proud of the work that I did. So I don't want to say, no, I'm done with that. I'm done with that because but it used to be that I would be compensated for that. You know what I mean? And in a sense, I am. I get to go do conventions like this with people, and it's opened the door to other jobs in some ways. So it's not like it's been a net zero for me, but it is like, but that's new work that I'm doing. I still feel like I deserve a fair share of that work because I did it already, and they're making money off of it. And so, yeah, it pisses me off a little bit. It really does, if I'm being honest.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We got about 2 minutes left, and we got 2 questions. So let's make sure we get both of them in here. Perfect timing.
Hi, I'm Josh from Groton, and to say hi, how are you doing today?
Hi, doing good.
That's good. My nephew wants me to say one thing, that Cosmo is a good dog. Okay?
I cannot comment on whether or not Cosmo is in fact a good dog until the strikes are over.
Speaking of strike, I work at Stop and Shop a few years ago, and I used to be in the union too, so I do support all of the actors and actresses and the writers. So I just want you to know to keep up the good work and just hang in there. You guys gonna win this. And the big studios, well, they need us too. So
yeah, that's right.
Very much.
That's right. They need you too.
You have a great one.
Thank you.
And our last question, no pressure.
All right, I'm walking home. All right, I'm Eddie Lesdowski from Molten Borough, New Hampshire. And by the way, awesome big fan of all your Guardians of the Galaxy projects. And of course, definitely support the movement that you're doing. I also probably might want to add maybe one component to that maybe nobody necessarily covered. I don't know if necessarily counts, but even let's say theme parks, like theme park attraction design. That's how you think about story, like how you can have screenwriters involved in designing the story of an attraction versus, replacing them with an AI kind of doing that, for a cheaper price.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it's certainly, they'll certainly try to do that. You know what I mean? And I bet it would be something where they, depending on the project, you might sign away certain rights to the likeness of a character. We do that already. So like when I do if I do a Marvel movie, part of my contract will deal with like, if there are action figures, for example, or if they use me in a theme park, there's like, that'll be written in. But I don't know how people who actually like write the.
Yeah, well, I was thinking more about specifically Cosmic Rewind.
Yeah,
I think so. You did that alongside with Volume 3.
Yeah, we worked on that like on a day of. We took it one of the days that we were shooting and worked on Cosmic Rewind.
Yeah. It was a great ride. I just went out just last June.
Folks, thank you so much for all the great questions. It was fantastic. Sean.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. We always enjoy when you have you here at Terrificon. Thank you for sharing your thoughts about a very important topic that's going on right now. And thank you for bringing us joy with your work. We truly appreciate it. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Sean Gunn.
Really appreciate it.
This is Ross Marquand, and you are watching Fandom Spotlight, which is awesome. So like, share, and subscribe. Oh, and have fun and follow your fandom.